Hey guys, it's Fading Light here, and today patch 5.2 was released, and there were a couple of changes to Shadow Priest. Personally, I did not feel like we got nerfed. I just feel like we're gonna have to try a little bit harder in order to be successful. So let's go over the changes right quick. This isn't gonna be very long, as there's only a few changes. The first change, it's in the first tier, but it doesn't really affect Shadow much, is the Dominate Mine. Cast time was reduced. I don't know what it originally was, but it has been reduced. But I don't foresee really many Shadow Priests or really any taking up Dominate Mine. Some discs might for twos, but other than that, I don't think they'll use it. Once again, just like in my 5.1 guide, Void Tendrils and Siphene can be used interchangeably. You might want to use Void Tendrils against a KFC comp team, or really any Cleave team that does not have a Paladin. Because Paladin of any kind will have Hand of Freedom, which kind of ruins the whole point of using Tendrils. So then, in that case, you can pick up Siphene, or any casting team you'd use Siphene. There was a change to the second tier. Phantasm no longer makes you untargetable for 3 seconds and drops the target. It's really just basically the Kata Phantasm all over again, where it just removes the impairing effects from you. So if you're like rooted and so what my choice was Body and Soul. With the change to Phantasm, I don't feel it's worth picking up really as much. I mean, I might switch back and forth, but with Body and Soul, I can get away from my enemies, as you can see. Okay. Next, I decided to stay with From Darkness Comes Light, but against certain comps, you may want to pick Insanity. Insanity just destroys healers. It does a shit ton of damage. And, I mean, I haven't used it really at all, Mindbender, but on the Priest forums, some guys have been suggesting that it's harder to get cast off your dots, like your Vampiric Touch, on, say, melee teams, so you may want to take Mindbender to get that damage out there. But I would still go with From Darkness Comes Light. I notice it still procs just as much. It's definitely the better option for Battlegrounds and rated Battlegrounds, but all three of these are pretty much equal in my opinion. So let's move on. Level 60 tier. With the initial nerf that Special Guys took early into Mop, Miss Pandaria, or whatever, I stopped using it then. I mean, my last video I used it as one of my main options, but I've kind of grew tired of it. I went with Angelic Bulwark. In threes, it does give your healer a bit of a cushion, as well as in RBGs if your whole raid is taking quite a bit of damage. It also really helps in duels and twos, etc. It's like a 70k or 60k shield, which is basically a free bubble. It does save me quite often, especially if you're facing another priest and he has death. Well, guess what? Their death's probably not going to cut through Angelic Bulwark, and if you pop another shield on top of yourself, you got a 120k shield at least. In full tyrannical gear on the PTR, I did have about 75k shields. Right now I'm at about 60, 63. It's interchangeable. It changes a lot. With the 75 tier, I feel as though the 5% damage increase from Power Infusion isn't quite good enough for me to pick it up. For a 2-minute cooldown, only increasing my damage by 5%, when I really could care less about the mana reduction, and I could care less about the haste. I mean, it's a dot class. I still have to wait for my damn cooldowns. Mind Blast, not like I can spam it, and Mind Spike spamming does not seem like a good idea to me. So I decided to stay with Divine Insight. It still procs a lot. Yeah, so I stayed with that. And for the final tier, with the changes to Halo, it makes it even less usable. I didn't use it previously, honestly. I used it for a little bit, then I dropped it. Now that it does not bring stealth out, it's even less useful. It's just waste your mana, so I stuck with Divine Star. And once again, you can use my macro in my macro video for healing yourself a Divine Star. Let's go over the glyphs. I only changed one glyph, but since this is a brand new guide for 5.2, I will go over all of them for the newer players. I chose Glyph of Dark Binding so I can heal myself. It's basically where you can cast several of your heals while in shadow form without canceling it. So basically pretty much anything except for Binding Heal and Flash Heal you can use without canceling shadow form. the most essential glyph I have is Glyph of Mass Dispel, which you do need quite often. It's pretty essential for threes. Mass Dispel is our biggest utility, in my opinion. And if you're not using it, I don't think any threes team would even pick you up. My third, this will probably be changed several times because I still have to pick one that I like the best since I really don't have any reason to use Glyph of Mind Spike anymore due to its nerfs. Glyph of Renew. On the PTR I was using Glyph of Paramending, but I feel like Glyph of Renew might have a little bit more use. So I picked that up. It increases the heals by each renew tick by 33%. But the duration is reduced by 3 seconds. I think I'm going to switch back to Paramending because that 60% is a little bit better than that. I tested it. I'm going to crunch numbers at some point. I may switch to Reflective Shield. Who knows? That's pretty much it. This is just a talent guide. I'm not going to really go over rotation in this one. But if you would like to know a little bit about the rotation, you can check out my 5.1 video. Nothing has changed. I will be making a separate rotation video and stuff at some point. So like, comment, subscribe. Peace out, guys.